So, we come at topic 2, which is sociology as science. We have completed sociology the discipline. Now, we start sociology as science. This is paper 1 topic 2 and subtopic A. The name is science, scientific method and critique. So, what do we have to study in this subtopic? When we say science, we should understand its definition. We should understand the features and what are natural sciences. For example, physics, chemistry, biology, these are natural sciences, and these are also known as experiment based science, because here whatever results are included, they have been formed after several experimentations. Also, a frequently asked question in the PYQs is sociology a science? Right? Now, where did this concept of science originate? It originated in Renaissance and Enlightenment. It started in Renaissance period and then it was developed in the Enlightenment period. So, both these periods are responsible for the formulation of the concept of science. Now, science uses a tool in order to form results or generalizations, and this tool is the scientific method. It is used by natural sciences. So, you should know the steps which are involved in scientific methods, the features of scientific method. Remember, these two are not same, they are different. Steps are different, features are different. And what happens when we try to apply scientific method in sociological research? Also, when we say critique, remember the non-positivists, the feminists and some other thinkers who do not necessarily fall into any school of thought, like Karl Popper, Thomas Kuhn. So, this is what you have to study in this particular subtopic. When we say science, science is basically a body of knowledge. Why? Because we want to know the truth. It is impersonal, that means it does not contain any value of the researcher. It is objective because here we are observing only what we are seeing. Okay? We are not looking at anything which does not exist in naked eye, right? So, it is reliable also, because what happens is that when we repeat these researches or experimentations, then we find the same result. Also, there is a concept of universality. These laws or theories are universal. So, these are the features of science. Coming to this question, is sociology a science? There are two schools of thought. One says yes, the other says no. People who say yes, they are the founders of sociology, the positivists, and according to them, the subject matter includes only thing which is observable. Only what is observable, what I can observe, what I can see is what I am going to study in sociology. These does not include feelings. And they stress on the quantitative methods. Why? Because these are the methods which are used by natural sciences. So, according to positivists, yes, sociology is a pure science. But what do the non-positivists say? Non-positivists are people who believe that sociology cannot be a pure science like the natural sciences. Why? Because in sociology, we cannot overlook human behavior, emotions. We have to study them, because ultimately if we are studying society, then this is the smallest part or unit of a society and we cannot neglect them. And if we are studying them, then we cannot study them experimentally like a natural science. We cannot study them in a laboratory. So, they stress on qualitative methods. Methods which are more than yes, no, tick boxes, where you have to write in paragraphs just like the mains exam, And these methods are subjective. It means they vary from one person to another. So how do we generalize? How do we form a conclusion or a theory? That is why these people say that no, sociology is not a pure science, which means it is not like natural sciences. These people say no, we can apply scientific method, we can apply quantitative method, so it is a science. But how do we conclude this answer? In conclusion, you have to say that although it is not a pure science like the natural sciences, but it is still a science in its own way. Why? Because it is fulfilling this definition. It is a body of knowledge, which means it has its own theoretical perspectives, it has its own scientific or research methods. And we are arriving at the truth. Truth means the truth about society, about social institutions, about marriage, economy, polity. We are trying to arrive at the truth. Why this is happening? What is the result? Under what circumstances suicide occurs? So we are ultimately trying to develop a body of knowledge. That is why sociology is a science and it has its own set of methods and perspectives. But it is not like natural sciences. Okay. Now, scientific method, what are the features and what are the steps? These two are confused very often. In the answers it is seen that features and steps, they are interchanged. Many times when the features are asked, the steps are written. So what are the features? Features means what are the qualities or characteristics which define scientific method. So here you have to write empirical. Empirical means I am observing something and then I am studying it. That is empirical. I am not putting into thought my values, anything, nothing. Only observation and studying. Objective means it does not change. Like subjective, it has values, changes from person to person. Objective means it is not changing. It is relevant to society. Predictable, yes, because after conducting scientific research, I come upon something, right, which is predictable. I understand that yes, this is going to happen under these circumstances. Also, I can form generalizations. After I conduct, let's say, experimentation, I come to a conclusion that okay, this is this. Similarly, there is ethical neutrality. It means the researchers' biases, prejudices are not included. This is known as research ethics. Also, it is accessible. The method should be accessible to everyone. We should not have boundaries. Okay, so these are the features that you need to write when you are asked in the question. Now, what about the steps? Steps are different. It means how we conduct a sociological research. First, I describe the phenomenon, then I form a hypothesis, I collect data, I analyze the data, I interpret it, I form a conclusion, and then perhaps lastly a generalization, which is theory or law. The names of the steps would differ from one source to another, but roughly these are the steps that you should write. You should never write the steps in the features. Now, what about critique? Remember two schools of thought, non-positivists and feminists. They mainly stress on the qualitative methods. Quantitative methods are stressed by people who are positivists. So, these are two perspectives, non-positivism and feminism or feminist theory. They stress on qualitative tools instead of scientific method. Why? Because human beings, they are complex, unpredictable. Also, whenever we want to analyze any cause of any event, then there are so many causes and so many effects. How do we establish a direct relationship between cause and effect? And cause and effect is one of the pillars of scientific method. But a simple relation, X leading to Y, this kind of relation cannot be formed in studying human beings. Also, it is difficult to measure emotions. It is difficult to quantify emotions. And also, this is subjective. That is why the non-positivists, they critique the scientific method. Also, feminists, because they believe that the scientific method is male centric. Here females are not included. It has sexist biases, male perspective, and they believe that in reality whatever data that we collect, whatever research that we do, it is context dependent. It is not entirely objective that we boast of. Similarly, they say that the views of the marginalized, the subaltern, these are not included. So only the view of the majority of the population, they are included, the males are included, the females, they are excluded, marginalized are excluded, the subaltern perspectives are excluded, and that is why the feminists, they believe that they should go for a more human approach, because this approach, the scientific method, is too robotic. It does not have feelings and you need to be detached from your research or from your study of human beings, which is not entirely possible when a human being is studying them. So how do we conclude? We conclude by saying that scientific method, it is the backbone of social science research. We start with scientific method, and it has been observed that under similar circumstances we see similar behavior. This you will read in the topic 4. For example, when you are studying suicide, you will realize that under similar circumstances, similar sections of people, they behave in a similar manner. Also, when we are studying society, then instead of depending only on scientific method, we also have another set of methods which are known as interpretive methods. These are subjective methods. So these two methods, they complement each other. They fill the gaps of the other or fill the weaknesses of the other method. And instead of experiments, because it cannot be carried on human beings, we have different set of research methods. For example, interviews, questionnaires, field observations. Therefore, sociology is a science and in its own way, not like the natural sciences. This should be a conclusion after you read this subtopic. All the best.